Thank you. Okay. All right. So let me, I guess, do that again. So we've got our new feature coming out, which is the finance data report. So up until now, we've been able to pull reports for everybody kind of on an automated monthly basis if reports have been requested. But now we're going to have the ability for you all to download your own reports basically at will whenever you want to. So what this is going to look like, go back. There we go. Okay. So on Monday, you'll get an email letting you know that this new feature is being released. And under your payments tab, so when you click in your name here, your payments tab, you're going to see this extra tab here that says finance data export. And what this is going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to either download just an Excel sheet or to download or to use a software actually called SAS Ant, which will be able to take your information directly from Parting Pro and push it into QuickBooks if that's your if that's what you're using to do your finances. You'll be able to choose where those products or merchandise should go, what account those should go in to match up to your QuickBooks. And then SAS Ant will kind of be the intermediary to get that over to QuickBooks for you. So I'm going to go over to the tab here in an actual dashboard so I can show you this. So what I mean by this is you'll click on your name once you're in the dashboard, click on your payments tab, and then you're going to have that finance data export tab. Now, one thing to note is this is only going to be available for admins in the dashboard at this point. So if you're not an admin, you won't see these things, but an admin can come in here and do this export at any point, really. And then as you scroll down the page, you'll see all the exports and all of the history of the export so that you can access them again or as needed. And then there'll be a couple helpful links in here. So we realize that SAS Ant will be new if you are using QuickBooks, but we'll give you instructions on how to utilize that as well. So that this is really exciting. Our team has put a lot of effort into this. We realize that the financials have been something that have been long requested. So we're hoping that this will be a great addition for everybody and add some more value for you. Any questions about that?
And as you guys are using that feature, please feel free to give us any feedback. Usually when we launch something new, testing world and real world end up being very different. So as usual, we rely on feedback from you guys. We get that over to our development team immediately, and they definitely will do what they can to modify any of the issues or maybe just enhancements that may be easily applied. So please go ahead and give us feedback if you are going to use that financial data export. We'd love to hear from you guys on that.
Absolutely. Okay. The next thing that we're going to go over is our pro tip for the month, which when we ask the team, what we kind of do to come up with our pro tip for the month is kind of ask our whole team what we're getting questions about. And so our team is growing, you know, we're now doing marketing, we're now doing some design services, so logos, websites, you know, our drop shipping team is also growing there. So when asking kind of what we're getting the most questions on or what we're seeing, answering phones was the thing that came up. So this is what we decided to highlight this month. So with our marketing services, one of the things that we have the ability to do is to track calls, which gives us the ability to listen in on calls, or our marketing team anyways. And they felt like the answering phones would be helpful to go over. So this is something also in client success that we hit on quite a bit because it makes such a big impact on your calls and the way that they go, or really your customers and the way that the customers decide to convert or not. So in trying to just kind of summarize this, when it comes to answering phones, really the goal is to create a positive, lasting impression. And I've tried to kind of boil that down through, you know, my own experience in the conversations that I've had with everybody else and Andrea's input as well, is it's really to relate and guide the customer. I think when we're answering phones all day and we're getting the same questions, it's really easy to become kind of monotone, monotonous in our delivery, almost robotic. Um, and so relating to the customer when we're answering that phone and kind of getting in the mind frame of maybe where they're at and understanding that they probably don't know the questions to answer, is what we want to do. So to get into that space where we can relate to them, not default automatically to our kind of memorized answers, kind of rote answers. You know, it can feel that way when again you're answering the same questions every day. And then offer guidance. So go beyond answering the basic questions. Really try to connect with them and build rapport and also add value. I was trying to think of how we could relate to this. And for me personally, it's, if I've got something that needs to be done on my car and I didn't call a mechanic for something, that's not a world I'm familiar with. So I do need extra guidance. And if I think of, shopping for a mechanic, and the way that those conversations could go, um, if the person on the phone is friendly, if they're offering me information that I didn't know, maybe telling me about some things that I should also look out for, versus somebody who's, ready to give me a price and make an appointment. Those are very different calls, and they leave a very different impression. Um, Andrea, what were your thoughts on that?
I agree. I definitely think that, I worked in the funeral home, dealt with families, and, we've got stuff going on in our head. We've got prep room stuff going on. We've got a service here, there. And so our mind can be in just many different places at once. One of the things I respect about people who work in the funeral industry is how well you guys multitask. And so when we're answering that phone call, normally we are not giving the opportunity to just to be calmly at our desk waiting for the call like a receptionist. We've got 50,000 things going. And so it's just important to kind of reframe yourself, maybe take a couple of deep breaths and then answer the phone. So you can kind of transition your mind to the space of where your caller can be, because, sometimes we get callers who are just inquiring, and then we have others that are really emotional states. And so we need to find a way to obviously be the best guide that we can during that time. So I like to ask them questions like, have you had a passing that you've experienced before? Is this your first time dealing with the passing of a close loved one? So I can get a better idea of where they're coming from. And then how I can easily establish rapport is just think of myself as an educator for them. My goal is that when they get off the phone with me, they feel a lot more comfortable making arrangements for their loved one than when they called. And if I'm able to be successful with that, it's likely that they may call me back and secure services, or often we can get the services secured on that same call. So don't look past educating your families. A lot of them want to know how this works so they can better prepare themselves. So don't pass up on education. I think a lot of times we have worked in the funeral industry a long time. So sometimes we start speaking in funeral speak. As Ashley mentioned, the marketing team does get to listen to calls for customers that are signed up for marketing. And I do hear things like, well, you can see that on our GPL. We have that price listed on our GPL. Customer calling may not know what a GPL is. That would definitely be internal industry speak. So it would be better to say we have a general price list that does disclose a full list of our pricing. If there's something specific that you're interested in pricing on, let me know and I can answer that. So I do hear quite a few people deflecting customers who are on the phone to go to another source for information. That's not the best if they're already talking to you. You want to try to be as helpful as you can. A lot of you guys are wonderful at definitely offering condolences, but that can also sound canned because you do hear the repeated, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. Oh, I'm so sorry. So if you might want to maybe use AI and look for some different phrases that you can throw in there to offer condolences, so we're not using that same exact phrase every time. That can be helpful. But overall, I think that a lot of our customers are doing a wonderful job establishing connection. But that phone call is incredibly important. We love Parting Pro. We think it's a great tool, but you guys have a lot of power when you pick up that phone. So definitely don't overlook that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. I think the idea can be that because, online arrangements are being offered and they're simple, that the online arranger can explain itself, which in a lot of ways that's true. But the differentiator between a customer that's maybe going to multiple online arrangers and price shopping multiple funeral homes, I believe is going to be that phone call. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking of, a podcast that I did with Will and Tyler, the Direct Cremation podcast, and Will DeMichaelis, managed the Omega Society, which was a very large firm out in Los Angeles, doing about 5,000 calls a month. And we didn't speak before the podcast about what those differentiators were, but he felt the same way, that that was the phone call. And I'll put a link in the follow-up email for today if anybody's interested in that episode. But I do think that that phone call is the differentiator. And I think a couple simple ways to add value to that call, especially when we're talking about price shopping, it can be very easy when somebody says, "Do you offer cremation?" Well, yes, we offer cremation. We have a direct cremation package. It's $995. And we kind of get into this mode where we're just answering basic questions instead of creating a conversation, which will open up hopefully more questions for them and stating what you're actually offering before you're telling them the price. So yes, we do offer cremation. We will take your loved one into our care. We will take care of filing the death certificate. Name all of those things that you're doing for that direct cremation, and then your price comes at the very last. So we're able to do all of that for you for $995 or whatever your price is. And that would go for any package, right? Like tell them exactly what you're giving them before you give them the price, so you can kind of build in that mindset of they're doing all of these things for me. I think another simple way to add value is during that call, is offer some more to that customer just in the way of information. People in your shoes usually also need to know about Social Security or something like that, and open up that door. So we're also going to take care of filing Social Security for you or whatever that looks like. But just give them a little bit more information that maybe they won't get from somebody else. And that's how you continue to add value and build that relationship. And again, it's about leaving a positive, lasting impression. Even if it's not a fit for your services and they can't use your services, um, they're still going to if they have a good lasting impression, that they'll speak of you highly instead of being upset and like telling their friends not to call that, or things like that. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Andrea?
No, I think that about sums it up. If anyone is interested in having their staff, I hate the term secret shopped, but I'm going to use it. If you are not sure how your staff are answering phones when you may not be around and you're interested in a secret shop being placed, definitely reach out to myself. I'm more than happy to do that. And I usually come up with a scenario that typically involves me being a next of kin that is out of area, because sometimes we have staff that are not even offering to families the online arranger. And so I can just do that. It's not about getting anyone in trouble. And then I would just recap back to and let you know what my impression was of how that call was answered. Because a lot of times when we're running businesses and we're managers, staff act one way when we're around. And then sometimes when we're not around, something else happens. So if that is a curiosity that you have, and you don't have a family or friend that you feel can do that, feel free to reach out to the client success team and we can arrange an overview of some calls. And I normally don't call once, I try to do 3 calls and then give an assessment from there. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go into our Q&A phase here. So let's get there. So we've received some questions that we'll kind of start out with here. Um, If you have other questions, we're also happy to answer those for you. So feel free, and again, either put those in the chat, raise your hand, and then we can unmute you and you can ask your question. So we'll go ahead and start there. Okay, so the first question we have was, what customization options do I have? So let me get into a dashboard here, and then we can go over that. Okay. So one of the first things that you can customize is your email template. So the email that I'm referring to, I'll show you all of them, but when you go to send a shopper email or what we call a proposal email, let me just go this way actually. Um, so your proposal email templates can be customized, and I can't stress the importance of this. It's really important that this email speaks to your brand and your business. You know, we've come up with a template which is kind of a default, but the more that you can speak about your brand here and what you're going to do is going to be nothing but beneficial for you. So to customize your email templates, you've got a tab here, which is just email template. And then you just in the email content section here can customize what this says. Um, there's also, you've got what we call field mapping keys. So if you wanted to, you know, use the customer's first name or first and last name, those are all here for you. And you can just copy and paste each of those things down into the section of the email where you want those referenced. Let me go back. So on that proposal email template, you're going to have your pre-need, at-need, and imminent template. Um, you also have your digital forms template. So these are the emails that are sent when you send a customer a form. You also have access to edit each of these. And then you also have access to excuse me, to um, customize the automated notification emails, which are the automated system emails that you get or your family gets once forms are complete. So form completion notification to the family. So if you don't know even, or if you're not sure what your customers get, this is a good way to know that too. So once a customer fills out a form, they receive this email, but you can customize this completely. So I would definitely lean on the email templates. This is also, we're adding to this, so you'll soon have more customization options in the email. The other thing that can be customized is the online store pictures here. So we've got 3 different themes, and these are, I'm first showing you things that you guys can do on your own. So the email templates you guys can do on your own. The online store you can also do on your own. So we've got 3 different templates that can be used. We've got a traditional, a mountain, and a beach. And then, of course, if you are using our white label services, that's another level of customization that you also have access to. Um, let's see, the checklist is something else that you can customize. So let me get to a checklist here. So your checklist is just if you have not customized it, it's kind of just a default checklist of things that might need to be done for every case. But you can go ahead and customize this by reaching out to our team if there's a certain number of items that you need. You can also control the priority. You can basically state whatever you want your checklist to be, and we can do that for you. The lead sources is also something else that can be customized. So I'm going to open up our case details and show you where those lead sources are. So if you do want to track where you're getting customers from, in the case details in the internal section here, account details, we've got a lead source. This is a drop-down menu right now, but you can tell us what you'd like this to say. So for example, we have some customers that work closely with hospices and they want to know which hospice referred their family. So they might have, Providence Hospice, Kaiser Hospice, whatever those multiple hospice facilities are, so that they can have more detail than just hospice. So this is also something that we can customize there.
And also some people like to put proximity, like neighborhoods, suburbs, county areas in there as well, because they want to know what side of their coverage area are their customers coming from. And this information can be used later to request data from your dashboard through the customer support team.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that you can customize is on your homepage when you're looking at your cases here, you've got filters and columns here. So if you wanted to change the layout of this page, um, for example, if you did not need to see maybe the location and you wanted to move that down to the bottom, you can also do that. You can also uncheck it and it's going to come off of the table there completely. So those are some more customizations that you can make to that page. You've also got filters here. So if you're working with a large team and you want to see maybe only cases that are yours, either you're the case manager or you're the funeral director, assigned to those cases, you can apply that filter and then that's going to show you just your own cases that you're assigned to. So those are also customizations that you can do in this page here. Um, let's see. Andrea, what am I missing?
I think you got them all. I think that's kind of where we are as far as the customizations that I mostly find customers finding benefit from. If
Okay.
you do want a customization and you don't currently see it, please let us know through the customer support chat, because we do keep track of requests. So they are kind of prioritized and how frequently they are requested. If someone makes a request and then within a 3-month period, we get, 30 other customers that make that same request, then the development team will prioritize trying to make that change available to you guys. So if you are using the system and you're like, man, I wish it had XYZ, please use that chat in the lower left-hand corner. Say, hey, I'm just writing a message for some feedback. Here's what I think would be great if your system would do, and we will try. We do have a question that came through.
Okay.
Okay, it says, is there an easy way to migrate client information taken from the vitals and migrated onto forms in another program, i.e. Word, Adobe, or Google Docs? To my knowledge, no, there's not an easy way. Ashley, is that correct? Unless there's
Uh,
like an intermediary software. We can research that, Jamie, and find out, because there could be an intermediary software that might do that pretty easily. But off the top of my head, I'm gonna say I'm not aware of it. But have you dealt with customers being able to have some type of software, Ashley, that they can do that?
not, yeah, I'm trying to think, not necessarily Word or Adobe. I mean, it's going to go onto your own internal forms that you're sending families. So the idea is it goes
Mm-hmm.
from the vitals web form or your version of the vitals into the case details here, and then we'll
Right.
preload on your forms. But um, no, I mean, we do have just a copy paste feature, which if you're in your case details and you click preview, this will bring up all of your fields. This was originally built to help a little bit with having to now enter your information into your state vital record system so that you can, copy this field, go out to your browser and paste it into the field in your state vital record system. But as far as just the straight kind of export import into another system, no, I'm not aware of a way to do that.
And then Jamie, can you do us a favor? Can you go into customer support chat and say, I was attending the AMA and I asked a question about exporting information easily, the case details. I am currently exporting information this way around, just so I can give development, and Ashley and I can give development a better context of what you're trying to accomplish by exporting that information. And so you can either see if there's a existing solution that we're not aware of, or if there is an outside free service that could help with that. And then it looks like we've got, okay, thanks, Jamie. We'll get that. And then it says, is there any way for someone to set up their own pre-need? Um, so are you referring to, this is from Carlene, are you referring, is there a way for someone to do a pre-need from start to finish through the online arranger automatically? Right now, the best way to do that is our online arranger for pre-need acts as a lead collection. So a family can go through, select a package, they can select their merchandise, and then they're entering their contact information. We do have customers who have a set of pre-need electronic forms in their forms. And so if they get a lead, they follow up. If that family is interested in securing the pre-need, they will go ahead and generate an invoice. And they will also send the family forms, and then they can go ahead and start the process. The reason why I can't say yes, there's an automatic way, because some people are doing their pre-needs through a trust. Some people are writing them through an insurance company. So the process is a little bit different. But if you need a way to electronically send pre-need forms, the system can do that. If you need a way to collect a payment from someone who is doing a pre-need, the system can do that. But it definitely is going to be a staff person working along with the system and talking with the family. It's not the same as them just going through the arranger and paying. We don't have that functionality just yet. There's a lot of legal logistics with that, because some other pre-need companies require that whoever's handling that pre-need be a licensed life agent. So it can get a little bit hairy. So right now, I would say the best way is for forms to be sent to that family, and then you can invoice through the system. But that's about as much as we can assist you with a pre-need. And then do you have any insight, Ashley, on that as well?
Yeah, so I mean, what we used to do when I was in the funeral home is if we had a customer go through our Parting Pro store and they had chosen pre-need and submitted their information, I mean, Andrea kind of mentioned they act as a lead collector. So once we got that information, we would just call that family, let them know that we received their information, kind of treat it like an arrangement, ask if they've got any questions, and then go through their option to fund that and then have them come in, because I was in a state where we had to do trust and those were all in person. They weren't electronic at all. So regardless, the customer still had to come in to get that paperwork signed. And so that's what we would do. We would just kind of set up an appointment. And if they didn't want to fund, then we would just always let them know that we would keep all their information on file, because the very least, if we would also try and get paperwork signed. So if we could get a cremation authorization, we could get vitals done, even if they're not going to fund. We have an arrangement on file for them. So when that death does occur, if we do get a call, we can say yes, absolutely, we have an arrangement for them, and do it that way. But yeah, that's what I guess I would say as well.
Okay.
Um,
And if you want to talk offline about that, please reach out to either one of us. I'm Andrea, Andrea at Parting Pro, and we can do a strategy call and see if there's a way that we can create a smooth process for you to start doing more of your pre-needs with conjunction with Parting Pro. I do have another question from Carolyn. It says, could you provide information regarding the Dropship Earn program? And email a link with additional information. Absolutely. Our representative over here that handles the drop shipping is also named Carolyn. So I'm going to go ahead and pass your information on to her, and then she'll be able to send you information on our drop shipping program. And like I said, any
yeah.
other questions, please feel free to use the chat. We will go through and look at those throughout our time here. Again, this is for you guys' benefit. So all questions are welcome. Even if we don't have an answer, we will definitely try to get an answer and follow up, okay?
I thought of one other thing that can be customized, that which is the location where the loved one is currently at, the location type. So when somebody selects this in your online arranger, regardless of the need type, they have some standard options, which are hospital, nursing home, residence, or hospice. But if you need to add to this or differentiate, private residence versus decedent's residence is one that I did recently, or things like that, that can also be customized as well. Um, okay. The next question we have is, how can I send out the online arranger through Parting Pro with a nice letter attachment? Um, so let me go back to the email template. I'm going to go back into my forms here, or excuse me, my email template. So on the email template, you have the option to add an attachment on each of these. So if you go into the editor again, just by clicking on that little pencil, when you come to the bottom, you have this option for email attachments here where you can upload whatever you'd like to. Now, this shouldn't be forms that customers need to sign. That's going to be done electronically. But if you have something that you want to attach here, so for some examples, I guess, of what I've seen here is, if the decedent is a veteran and you wanted to get ahead of the game and provide them some information about veteran benefits, that would be something that I see attached. Same thing with like a death certificate informational sheet. You might need death certificates for these different things. That might be something that could be attached there. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say. If it's going to be for every single customer that you send an email to, that's where you would want to do it. Now, if um, it's on a one-off basis, you can do that from the proposal email tab. So let me just navigate there for just a moment. And then, yeah, so right here, if you need to do it on a one-off basis where this family asked you something specific and you want to upload something for them, it's going to be done here. Um, I think another way that you can add value for this, for example, is, during that initial phone call, if the customer has specific questions, like veterans, maybe they talked about an urn or something and you wanted to upload a photo of something for them, you can also do that there on the kind of one-off thing. Any other thoughts on that, Andrea?
Nope, that's sums it up. Yeah, that's where you would be able to put that. A lot of times I have seen people do a little earn catalog as well because they want to emphasize to the families that they do have merchandise available. So that's something that you can have attached there, no problem. We do have another question. Jamie is asking, is there anything in development to automatically populate client information into an SSA-721 form? Right now, Jamie, the only way that we can automatically populate information that's from the system into a form is if that form is part of your electronic forms. So if you have a PDF version of this SSA-721 form in your forms, we can typically create coding that will take information from the case details and put it in that form. If you can only access this SSA 721 form through an external system, unfortunately, right now, we don't have anything in development or currently that will go from the case details into an outside system. But if you have it as a PDF and a blank form and you want to email that to us and we can load that as a form, then we can work on getting some codes to get the information from the case details into that specific form, as long as it can be used as a PDF or something like that. But we don't have access to, unfortunately, to EDRS and any of the other reporting systems that are used externally right now.
And one thing I think to remember too is that you can also use your form section for simply auto-filling and printing forms. It doesn't have to be a form that you're going to send to the family. So in that example of the SS721 form, we do have several clients that have that in their form section. And you're right, you don't want the family to sign it, you're signing it. So what I would do in that case is you would come over to the print forms tab here, instead of send. You're going to choose print, hit next. Um, I'm just going to choose one as an example, but once you hit print, it's still going to autofill this form for you. So if it's the 721 and you've got the social and your case details, you've got all the needed information, it's going to autofill that form for you and you can just download it. So this is still a time saver so you don't have to do it manually. Every time. It's pre-filled in for you here. We've got another client that does this for like a medical examiner notification that they have to do on each case. If it's a PDF form, we can load it into your form section here. As long as you have all the information in your case details, it's going to pull that over and then you're simply going to download or print it. And that's kind of a done deal for you. Now if it's SS721 form and you need to sign it, we can figure that out as well. Or if you just want to do a wet signature, that's fine too. but now you've got that form in your case details and complete for you. So it just will download the form there. So that's probably, yeah, that's what I would do, Jamie, if that's something that you'd like to have happen, is just have us load it and then print those forms instead of sending them. And then you'll see the status here on your forms tab. Just simply says printed instead of like in progress, or the other thing it says when they're actually being signed by a family. Yeah. Okay, we've got, let's see, a couple other things coming in.
Okay, it says we have to select next of kin for our form and makes it a little awkward to fill out properly. So is that in regards to that same form we just talked about, or a different form, Jamie? Correct. Okay. So that wouldn't work, right? Your workaround, Ashley, because if he needs a next of kin.
So you have to select a next of kin. So if on the form, I think what you're saying is on that 721 form, it does want to know who, if there's a surviving spouse, is the situation I'm thinking of. So we can still do that if it is in your case details, if you've got that spouse listed, we can pull that code over to your form, so it's still going to fill in. That's how our clients that do that, that's how it's working for them. Now, so yes, it should still work, I believe. I can test
Okay.
it out for you after this, Jamie, and give you a more definitive answer, but I think it still works. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Hey, okay, another question we have is it possible to be able to select one location the body will be transported to on the embalming authorization each time instead of having both addresses listed? So I'm guessing it's a customer that has either two locations, or maybe they're using two different care centers. It would be the same if you are in a situation where you're using different crematories, and maybe it just depends on capacity at one crematory and you can use them. If that is a field on your form, and I have one of these pulled up, just got to get to my right tab, I think. Um, So for example, on your forms again, if there is a field on your form that you want to be the same every single time, the answer is yes, we can do that for you. Um, so remember, all the forms are forms that you've submitted to us, and we just kind of put in the fields that need to go there. But you can control what these are. So the way I'm thinking about this is, if you have some kind of field that's asking for either location and you've got a drop down that's showing two and you always want it to be one, what we would do is just remove that drop down and fill in the field for what it's supposed to say, and then it's going to say that every single time. It's not even a field that the customer would need to touch. So absolutely. Um, and I realize forms can be a little bit tricky in understanding what you can do, what would be best practices. And that's also something that we're happy to meet with people on, if that would be helpful for you to have us look at some of your forms and maybe give you some suggestions about what could be simpler. We'd be also happy to do that.
Okay, so we have
Hey,
another
oh, go
question.
ahead.
It says, this is from New England Funeral. It says, we would like to know how to get messages across to families that authorizations for cremations are required from all equal next of kin. A photo ID is required, and they should not be able to check out before being supplied. Also, this week, a family checked out without submitting an idea, and we are wondering how we could have. Okay, so basically somebody submitted checked out without having any idea of what they were checking out for, I'm assuming. And they want to know how that could have happened,
I think
since they've
she's
worked
saying
on
that,
it with
somebody checked out without submitting the photo ID.
the photo ID. Yes, that's
So,
what she says.
okay. So there's a couple things here. There's a couple ways that this can be done. If you absolutely want to verify that the person who is making arrangements in your online store is the next of kin, and you do not want them to check out before that happens, the only way to make sure that that never happens is that you make it so that they can't pay you before you talk to them. So a family would go through the store like this, get all the way to the end, and then what they're going to see is a pay later option so that they can submit their information and you can have that conversation with them, verify that they're the next of kin, and then start the process. Now, the other way to do this is, and we have funeral homes that fall on both sides of this. They want to absolutely make sure that the next of kin is the one who went through the online checkout and paid. And then we have others who kind of view it as we're willing to take payment from anybody as long as that person that's going through the store isn't necessarily going to authorize anything. Then they're willing to go ahead and do that, and then they get that verification. And the way that I would do that is with your vitals form. So we've got the vitals web form. Let me get into one here. So in your vitals web form, which looks like this, so when the customer gets your vitals and they start to fill this out, within this identity information selection, or excuse me, identity information section, we can require that a photo is uploaded. So this is an example. Well, we can do it so that the person's uploading their ID, or in this case, this funeral home wants a photo of the loved one to do their identification with. So we can do either or. Bottom line is, yes, we can make an ID required to be uploaded. It's not going to necessarily take out the um the store piece, that would still be there, but your vitals can be
Ashley, one
automatically
second,
sent.
1 second. She
Yeah.
says she's referring to obtaining an ID of the deceased.
Okay. Well, so upload a photo of the loved one is an option that we could do for them. So once they go through the online, but that's not going to happen in the store. That's the differentiation I want to make. It's not going to happen in the store. It has to happen after. So they can get your vitals web form. We can have them upload a photo right here so that once you get that vitals web form submitted by that family, you would have the photo attached here, and that's how you can do your identification.
And then they
Does
can do
that
the
get into what you
ID
mean?
verification through the forms tab as well during that feature, right? And then after they
Right.
get that back, they could direct the family to use the online arranger.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. So if you're on the forms tab, you can use the built-in ID verification section. Yeah, if you want to be the one that takes the photo and then send it to the family and have them verify, then you would use the ID verification section. If you want the family to upload a photo for you and that's how you're going to do your verification, then you would use the vitals option.
Yeah, we don't have the only way that we can, do you guys currently have a button on your website? How are people getting access to your online arranger? Because it says that you want to ensure that all people cannot check out without a deceased ID. The only way that we can guarantee that is you not have an external access to your online arranger. The only time people are given an invitation to access your arrangement is when you send that email. So what you can do is send the families an ID verification or that vitals form. Right. So since it's on your website, there's no way that we can control that because anyone can click on the button. So if you know that for your process, you want that positive ID before you take any arrangement, you might not want to have a button on your website because as long as it's on your website, it is going to allow them to use your online arranger. So we do have customers who have set processes of that they like to do a pre-qualification. They do not have a button to their online arranger on the website. They have families reaching out to staff. Staff will go ahead and say, I'm going to send you an email that has you verify your loved one. Once that's complete, I'm going to send you an email that's going to allow you to go through our online arranger. So they're sending an email to specific family members to go through arranger in the process when they feel it's okay. But if you have it on the website, anybody can click on it. Anyone can go through. We don't have a way of stopping them because they haven't verified identification.
Yeah, so that'll just be a decision you need to make process-wise and
Uh-huh.
what your goal is. So yeah, but yeah, if you want to talk further about that, we're happy to do that with you on the
Absolutely.
call. Yeah. Okay, the next question we have is what is a non-invoice payment? So let me go over to the payments tab here. So on your payments tab, you'll see you have an invoices section here, which is where you're, sending invoices that you intend to collect. And then the non-invoice payment section is what the question is here. What's a non-invoice payment? So a non-invoice payment is meant to be a section where you can record payments without them being attached to an invoice. I would only use this section if you're not intending to send an invoice at all and you just want to record collection, with the caveat that also you're not going to, have this on a statement of funeral goods and services as well. So the way I think of this section, and Andrea, you can give me your opinion too, but the way I think of this section is, if I always want to send an invoice because I want the receipt and the, statement of funeral goods and services there. But for the non-invoice payment, I kind of think of it, if I've had somebody walk in the door and they're maybe going to buy an urn off the shelf, and I just want to make sure that that's recorded here as well. Maybe I am, doing QuickBooks or something like that, and I don't necessarily need them to have another receipt via Parting Pro. You can record that here just so you have it in the same system, but it's not going to generate any statements for you. So that's the way I think of a non-invoice payment. How about you, Andrea?
I see it used that way as well. And then I do have some customers that use it as a way to get donations for arrangement. So maybe you have a family that's come through and they're in their budget. They are okay with paying for a cremation with a memorial service. And they tell the funeral director, if we can get people to contribute and we can raise enough money, we would love to have an actual visitation with cremation. So what that funeral director does is creates an invoice for that cremation with memorial service. That family goes ahead and takes care of it. That's the plan that they're planning on going with. However, if family members and friends call in and say, hi, I would like to contribute to the burial costs or funeral costs for this person, the funeral home can actually take it as a non-invoiced payment. Now, some of the funeral homes charge a fee for that. They'll maybe tell that person, we can do that contribution, but there is a $5 fee in addition to the 3% credit card processing. And so they'll collect all of these funds. And then maybe after a week, they go back to the family and say, okay, we've got total amount of donations of $1,725. What would you like to do with this money? And the family could say, okay, we want to get prayer cards, we want to get programs, we want to have flowers, etc. So I have seen it used as a way of kind of crowdfunding also, but again, it can be tedious for staff, but that is a functionality that it can be used for as well.
Um, okay, the next question is, how do I get billed for drop shipping? So if you are a drop shipping participant, the billing happens once a month. And you should receive an invoice email of what you were billed for that month, so you can see exactly what customers purchased inventory and what you're being billed for. So it does happen kind of automatically just once a month. It is separate from your dashboard charges. Um, so that's the way that that happens. Um, um, And that was the last question we had. So does anybody else in the group here have questions that we can answer for you?
And again, your questions can be related to something that we've previously talked about. You want to go into further detail, or it could be a question that you were hoping other people mentioned and no one did. And so now you are willing to ask your questions. And like I said, feel free to chat if you do not want to speak out with your audio. So it looks like we don't have any new questions at all that have come in.
Well, we're just about 5 minutes away here from our time being up anyway. So if you do have questions that come up, feel free and reach out. We'll send a follow-up email that will have the recording of this, also a link to schedule consultations with us if you'd like that. And I'll send any other links that we talked about today as well. But yeah,
And
just
then any
feel free
follow-up
and reach back
I
out.
promise to do, I'll do as well. And as far as Carolyn, I'll get you in touch with our drop shipping coordinator to get your details on the dropship program.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.